Tuhin Sinha, both Jairam Ramesh and Asaduddin Owaisi have highlighted Chinese support to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. From the J-10C fighters to the PL-15 to the satellite imagery, the real-time satellite intelligence that China was giving Pakistan. So shouldn't India be confronting China instead of talking about improving ties when the real picture is extremely dangerous?
Well, good evening, Gaurav. Good evening, everybody. As you mentioned at the start, it's a very complex situation. Chakravyuh would not be a wrong word. And only a very confident government can wade successfully through a Chakravyuh. India's foreign policy in the last few years has been and is going to be more so from now about nuanced multipolarity, nuanced calibrated multilateralism. And, over here, you need guarded optimism rather than the pessimism which the opposition brings to the table. So while, yes, we will be going ahead with a positive engagement with China, in the words of Jaishankarji, he has put it very well, that India looks forward to, working out a new phase of relationship after a difficult time where differences should not be disputes and competition should not be conflict. Having said that, as you have seen yourself in the last 11 years, the Modi government has been extremely possessive about safeguarding our national interests. So you can rest assured, unlike the Congress party, there will be no secret MOUs with the CCP. Unlike the UPA government, we will not sit silent and allow 600 incursions. Rather, we will not allow a single incursion. And at the same time, our defense minister, unlike, the defense minister of the UPA era, will not be saying that, we will not construct border infrastructure because that would upset China. So all of these things, including our PLI schemes, including our rare earth mineral initiative, will be going equally strong. While, yes, there is a need for positive engagement, we will respect that and we will engage. You're talking about
guarded optimism. You've attacked the UPA government and their policy towards China. Let me bring in Saral Patel to respond. Mr. Patel, Dr. Jaishankar, he said, and if I may quote, our expectation is that discussions would contribute to building a stable, cooperative and forward-looking relationship between India and China, one that serves our interests and addresses our concerns. What are your concerns, or what's the opposition's concerns with this approach that the government is adopting? Okay, Mr. Patel, I think you're on mute, sir. Please unmute yourself. Okay, give me a moment. We will try and reestablish that link with you. Let me bring in Professor Chilani. Professor Chilani, your take on the visit of Wang Yi on boundary talks, his interaction with the foreign minister at a time when India-US relations are heading downhill, sir.
Wang Yi's visit is to prepare Prime Minister Modi's visit to China. So he's here not only to speak with NSA Doval, but also to prepare the ground for Modi's visit to China, because Modi is planning to meet with Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Tianjin. But in India, we are obscuring some key facts. First, China has yet to vacate the territories it grabbed in eastern Ladakh in April 2020. We are obscuring that by saying that this is the first visit of the Prime Minister since the Galwan clashes. The Galwan clashes were not the cause of the military standoff between India and China. They were the consequence of what happened earlier. The encroachments began in April 2020. Second, the Chinese forces that have been massed along the India frontier, they have not been thinned. So it was Jaishankar today urging Wang Yi to let de-escalation move forward. Yet, India appears eager to turn the page. On the economic side, it's also important not to forget one key fact, which is that Beijing is seeking to tighten the screws on India's economy in a bid to forestall India's emergence as the world's next big manufacturing hub. China has restricted exports of rare earth magnets,
earth.
specialty fertilizers, and tunnel boring machines critical to India's industries and infrastructure. There's also curbed the movement of technology and skilled personnel to help slow India's economic modernization, including undermining its manufacturing ambitions. So, it's okay to talk about 3Ms and talk about, nice sounding slogans. But the fact is, the realities are that, that China is seeking to contain India, both economically and militarily. And Modi's visit to China is taking place at a time when China has not clearly signaled a change in its attitude towards India.
Its attitude towards India remains hostile. Ambassador Trigoniath, is that also the impression you get, that they want Prime Minister Narendra Modi to come to China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, but bilaterally? What is China's attitude since Doklam 2017, a thaw and then the hardening, and then despite Mamalapuram, what the Chinese did in April 2020, April, May 2020, all along the LAC in eastern Ladakh, and subsequently, plus their direct assistance to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, sir?
Well, Gaurav, there are two ways to look at it. One is that it is your biggest, largest, and powerful neighbor, and you want to remain engaged with them. Your trade and dependencies are pretty significant, irrespective of whatever differences we have, that Dr. Chalani very clearly mentioned. I fully agree that China is going to be our challenge, not only bilaterally, but in every single geography that we'll talk about. But that does not mean that we continue to suffer from this KK syndrome. I mean, that's quite ridiculous not to talk. We have been talking diplomacy, dialogue. Without that, you can't resolve. You can't go to war and resolve these issues which we are talking about. They can only be resolved by talking to them. And of course, Wang Yi has come here essentially, but we had our Dr. Jaishankar had gone there, NSA has gone there. So dialogue has been happening not in India, but in different countries and even to China. So now we have moved on and we need to move forward. You can't have enemies all around by not talking to them. So I think that this is an extremely important visit. And Wang Yi is also a very smart foreign minister. He understands very well what is at stake. And therefore, they are ready. They would be continuing to work on it. Apart from the SCO, SCO is the sideshow. The real thing
Yes.
is the Prime Minister Modi's visit to China, that is being seen by them as a very important visit from India. I mean, if we talk about only Pakistan all the time in the context, they are their partners. We have also had the partnership with them. So every country has a partnership with another country.
Okay.
Pakistan, China is something we know very well. In fact, after
Okay.
this visit, Wang Yi also is going to Islamabad and we'll be talking to them. Does that mean that you will not talk to the people there just because they are Pakistan is their problem for us?
Fair
Adversity.
enough. That's an
Sino-Pak axis
interesting
is
That's a very interesting word you used, if I heard it right. The KK syndrome. Does that indicate Kop Bhavan mein we can't sulk and sit in a room, is what you're saying? Zorawar Daulat Singh, before I bring in the Congress Party spokesperson once again for the political aspect for this debate, on the diplomatic perspective, as an analyst, your appreciation, is improvement of ties with China a reality that we have to look at? Of course, it's a two-way street. We can only improve relationship if they truly want to improve relationship, given India's relations with America are heading downhill, though there are commentators in America who are saying that Trump is pushing India closer to China.
So Gaurav, let's put this in a larger perspective. Since the Ladakh crisis, India and China have been in the state of not a confrontation, but the relationship is was dislodged and it put. So I think what the Modi government is doing in the last year is trying to stabilize the relationship. Both sides recognize that they have enormous differences. They have territorial disputes. They have a regional security situation where they don't agree on the basic concepts of who should be where. But despite that, as the world is getting multipolar, India, for its own interests, needs to have a stable working relationship with China for its own interests, not only to get a better bargaining position with the Western powers, who have, by the way, used the last 5 years to really extract and exploit and pressurize India because of this India-China sort of acrimony. So I think what the Indian policymakers are doing is to just put India back into a position in a changing world order where it has stable ties with the major powers. Now, China is, of course, always going to be a complicated relationship, but to let Western powers sort of, use this relationship to exploit you, I think that's. But the other angle, of course, comes down to if you're going to restabilize your economic structure, you're going to sort of have this counterweight, the global South. All these facets require stable India-China relationship, whether it's BRICS or
Yes.
SCO. So I think Indian policymakers are being pragmatic. There has been no concessions I foresee on major issues of national interest. So for the opposition and others to sort of look at this as as kind of an attacking point, I don't think you should do this, because this is such a vital strategic relationship, along with the United States, along with the Russia relationship, along with your relationship with the Middle East. So you should not be sort of playing politics with something which is so vital. This is a major land power on your frontiers. You bottled up a major section of your Indian army to now deal with this front. So if you can soften the temperature and you can stabilize the relationship, I think that itself is enormous, right? Because it gives releases
I'll get
resources
Professor
and diplomatic
Brahmachalani.
attention to do other things.
I'll get Professor Brahmachalani to respond to that, but in case I have my audio link back with Saral Patel, sir, you wanted to come in on why the government's approach, according to the Congress party, is flawed.
So we heard the statement of the Foreign Minister Jaishankar, and also we heard my friend Tuhin Sinha here. So I would like to just say that when government mistakes photo ops for foreign policy, the nation pays the price, and that price is paid in blood and sovereignty. From biryani diplomacy with Pakistan to Jhula diplomacy with China and Namaste Trump diplomacy with the USA, Modi government has perfected the art of diplomacy for cameras, not for countries. Just 3 months ago, we saw how China openly armed Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, supplying them from everything from jets, missiles, drones, and to even live intelligence against India. Our own deputy chief of army staff has called China an adversary and said that during Operation Sindoor, it's like we are fighting two countries, we are fighting at two fronts. Yet the government pretends that that threat doesn't exist. As we speak, it is a fact that our soldiers cannot patrol their traditional posts in Depchang, Demchok, Chumar without Chinese concurrence. And who gave China this audacity? It is Prime Minister Modi who, in 2020, after Galwan and after the supreme sacrifice of our soldiers in Galwan, said that no one has entered our territory and gave Beijing a clean check. So since 2014, India has paid the price because the government's foreign policy is not guided by the national interest, but by the personal PR interests of hug a minute prime minister and reel a minute foreign minister. And I sincerely hope, as a citizen, that prime minister and foreign ministers have learned their lessons in last 11 years, and
Okay.
the situation that we are facing, as you rightly said, the Chakravyuh, the situation with US tariffs and all of that. I hope they have learned their lesson, and it won't be they will put the national interest above the PR interest.
Respond to Hind Sinha. Photo op is not foreign policy, and that's exactly what India has been reduced to, is the point of the Congress party. Okay, I think, sir, this time you're on mute.
Photo attacking Prime Minister Modi for photo ops is a very frivolous, very frivolous pattern which Congress has been going ahead with for the last many years. You need to realize that India has done fairly well in a multilateral, world. And I think, Prime Minister has been very prompt in probably he saw what was coming. And that is one of the reasons our engagement with BRICS has only strengthened over the last few months. In fact, if you look at it, the way we had balanced both BRICS and Quad together in the last few years, I think Congress would not understand this tightrope walk, but that is paying dividends today. Every country is finding it difficult to deal with the inconsistencies in present day America, in
Okay.
the present American approach, and in this situation, if a temporary alliance or a well meaning positive alliance between RIC, which is Russia, China, is forged in place, that will do the world a lot of good. So I don't think the Congress should get into frivolous talk of photo ops. If that is Prime Minister Modi's style and that is his forte, personal engagement, that was never the way Manmohan Singh would carry out his foreign policy. So
Okay,
there's a difference in
Dr.
personalities, and
Chil,
the Congress
Professor
Party should respect that.